Welcome to my channel. Let me ask you something very important that might completely change the way you look at English learning. Why do so many students study English for years, memorize thousands of words, watch endless videos, and still feel afraid to speak in real life? Why does English feel so easy in the mind, but so difficult on the tongue? What if I tell you that the problem is not your intelligence, not your hard work, and not even your grammar knowledge, but only your process of learning English? In this video, I am going to share my complete step-by-step process to speak English naturally, even if you are a complete beginner. This is not a shortcut. This is a real system that builds your speaking ability from zero to confident communication. Stay with me till the end, because if you miss even one step, you might keep struggling for years without real improvement. Today, everything will become clear, simple, and practical for you. Chapter 1. I want to start this chapter with a very honest truth that most English learners never hear clearly at the beginning of their journey. You are not struggling to speak English because you are weak. You are struggling because you are following the wrong process. And when the process is wrong, even a smart student feels stuck. Even a hard-working student feels confused. Even a motivated student loses interest after some time. This is the real problem. Now let me ask you something very simple. Have you ever studied English for months or even years, but still, when someone asks you a simple question like, "How are you?" your mind suddenly becomes empty. You know the answer, but you cannot speak. You feel nervous. You start thinking in your native language. You try to translate word by word. And in the end, you say nothing, or you say very little. If this has happened to you, then listen carefully, because this is exactly where most learners are trapped. The biggest mistake English learners make is that they think speaking English is about knowledge. They think if they know grammar rules, vocabulary lists, and sentence structures, they will automatically speak fluently. But speaking is not knowledge. Speaking is a skill. And skills are not built by reading alone. Skills are built by practice, repetition, and real usage. You cannot learn swimming by reading a book about swimming. You cannot learn driving by watching videos only. In the same way, you cannot learn speaking English by only studying English. You must train your mouth, your brain, and your thinking together. Now here is the real reason why you feel stuck. Your brain knows English, but your mouth is not trained to use it. There is a gap between understanding and speaking. You can understand sentences when you see them, but you cannot create sentences quickly when you need them. This gap creates fear. This fear creates silence. And this silence makes you believe that you are not good at English. But the truth is, you are not practicing speaking in the right way. In my experience of teaching English for many years, I have seen thousands of students with the same problem. They are not weak. They are just untrained in speaking. And the good news is, this can be fixed very easily if you follow the correct process. But before I show you the process, you must first understand one important mindset shift. You must stop trying to speak perfect English from day one. Clears throat. Because perfection is the biggest enemy of speaking. Think about a small child learning to speak their first language. Do they speak perfectly in the beginning? No. They make mistakes. They repeat words. They speak broken sentences. But they never stop speaking. They are not afraid of mistakes. That is why they become fluent naturally. You must bring this same mindset into your English learning journey. You must allow yourself to be imperfect in the beginning. Another important reason learners struggle is fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of people laughing, fear of sounding strange, fear of forgetting words. This fear is so powerful that it stops people from even trying. But let me tell you something very clearly. Every fluent speaker you admire today was once a beginner who made hundreds of mistakes. Mistakes are not a problem. Stopping because of mistakes is the real problem. So, in this first chapter of my process, I want you to focus on one powerful idea. Start small, but start speaking. Do not wait for confidence. Do not wait for perfect grammar. Do not wait for complete knowledge. Because confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes after speaking. Now let me give you a very simple starting point. Instead of thinking about long conversations, start with short sentences. For example, I am tired. I am happy. I am learning English. I am at home. These small sentences may look very simple, but they are very powerful because they train your brain to think in English and your mouth to produce English without fear. At the beginning, you may feel strange. You may feel slow. You may even feel silly speaking alone. But this is completely normal. Every skill feels strange in the beginning. When you first learned writing, it was difficult. When you first learned cycling, it was difficult. But with practice, it became normal. English speaking is the same journey. Another important thing I want you to understand is that your goal in the beginning is not fluency. Your goal is comfort. You should become comfortable with speaking English, even if it is small, even if it is slow, even if it is not perfect. Because comfort is the first step toward fluency. Once you are comfortable, speed and accuracy will come automatically. So remember this carefully. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from knowledge without practice. And now we are going to convert that knowledge into real speaking ability step by step. In this chapter, I want you to accept your current level without judgment. Do not compare yourself with fluent speakers. Compare yourself only with your past self. If today you can speak one small sentence without fear, that is progress. If today you try speaking even after making mistakes, that is progress. If today you decide to start, that is the biggest progress of all. In the next chapter, I will show you how to prepare your brain for speaking by building simple English input so that speaking becomes easier, smoother, and more natural without pressure. Chapter 2. In the previous chapter, we understood a very important truth, that speaking English is not about perfection. It is about practice. We also understood that fear and overthinking are the biggest barriers between your knowledge and your speech. Now in this chapter, I want to take you one step deeper into my process. And this step is something that most learners completely ignore. But this is the step that changes everything slowly and silently. Before you learn how to speak English, you must first fill your brain with simple English input. Let me explain this in a very easy way. Imagine you want to speak a language, but your brain has very little exposure to that language. It is like trying to cook food without enough ingredients. You may know the recipe, but you cannot cook properly because you do not have enough raw material. In the same way, speaking English becomes difficult when your brain has not seen or heard enough English in a natural way. This is why, in my process, the second step is called daily English exposure. This means you must read, listen, and observe English every single day in a very simple and natural way. Not difficult English, not advanced grammar books, just simple English that your brain can understand without stress. Because when your brain understands easily, learning becomes natural and enjoyable. Now let me tell you what happens when you start doing this daily. At first, you will see English words that you already know and some words that you do not know. This is completely normal. Many beginners make a mistake here. They try to understand every single word. They stop again and again. They translate everything into their native language. And because of this, they lose focus and interest. But in my process, I want you to change this habit completely. Your goal is not to understand every word. Your goal is to understand the meaning. If you understand the idea of the sentence, that is enough. You do not need perfection. You need flow. Because when your brain starts understanding meaning instead of individual words, something powerful starts happening inside you. You start thinking in English patterns instead of translating. Now let me tell you something very interesting. When you expose your brain to simple English every day, your brain starts recognizing patterns automatically. For example, you will start seeing sentences like I am going, I am eating, I am learning again and again. Slowly, your brain does not need to think about grammar rules. It already knows how the sentence is built. This is how natural learning happens. Many students ask me, Sir, should I memorize vocabulary lists to improve English? And my answer is always the same. No, not in the beginning, because memorizing words without context is temporary. You forget them quickly. But when you see words in real sentences, your brain remembers them naturally because they are connected to meaning, situation, and emotion. This is why reading and listening to simple English is much more powerful than memorizing long lists. Now, I want to tell you something very important that most learners do not realize. When you do daily English input, you are not just learning words. You are training your brain to accept English as normal. At the beginning, English feels foreign. It feels different from your natural thinking. But after some days of exposure, your brain stops reacting to English as something strange. It starts treating it as familiar. And this familiarity is the key to fluency. Let me give you a very simple example from real life. When you first enter a new place, everything feels strange. But if you stay there for a few days, it starts feeling normal. The same thing happens with English. At first, it feels difficult. But when you stay connected with it daily, it becomes part of your mental environment. Now let's talk about listening. Listening is a very powerful tool in this stage. When you listen to simple English videos, short conversations, or slow English speaking, your brain starts learning pronunciation, rhythm, and sentence flow. You may not notice it immediately, but your brain is recording everything. Later, when you try to speak, these patterns come out naturally. Another important habit in this stage is repetition. Clears throat. Many learners think repetition is boring, but in reality, repetition is where real learning happens. When you see or hear the same sentence again and again, your brain becomes more and more comfortable with it. It stops feeling new. It starts feeling natural. And when something feels natural, it becomes easy to use in speaking. Now I want you to understand one powerful idea. In this stage, you are not forcing learning. You are allowing learning. You are not pressuring your brain. You are gently exposing it to English every day. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. Even 30 minutes of simple English exposure every day can change your thinking pattern over time. Some days, you will feel like you are not improving. Some days, you will feel slow. Some days, you will feel bored. But this is completely normal, because learning is not always visible. It is happening quietly inside your brain, like a seed growing underground before it becomes a tree. So, in this chapter, I want you to remember one simple truth. Before speaking English fluently, you must first make English familiar to your brain. And this familiarity comes from daily exposure, not pressure, not fear, not memorization, just simple, consistent, and relaxed contact with English. In the next chapter, I will show you how to turn this input into real speaking practice using a very simple technique that you can do alone, without any partner, and without any fear. Chapter 3. Now in this chapter, I want to take you to the most important turning point of my process. This is the stage where you stop only understanding English, and you start actually producing English with your mouth. Many learners reach the previous stage of reading and listening, but they never move forward. They keep consuming English, but they never try to speak it. And because of this, their speaking skill remains weak even after years of learning. So, today I am going to show you a very simple but powerful method that can change this completely. Let me start with a very honest question. Have you ever felt that you understand English in your mind, but when you try to speak, your mouth refuses to cooperate? You know the words, but you cannot bring them out quickly. You think in your language first, then translate, and by the time you are ready to speak, the moment is gone. If this is your situation, then you are not alone. This is the most common problem for English learners all around the world. And the reason is very simple. You are not practicing speaking in the right environment. In my process, the third step is called alone speaking practice. And I want you to understand this very clearly. You do not need a partner to start speaking English. You do not need a teacher sitting in front of you. You do not need a classroom. The first and most powerful speaking practice happens when you are alone. Because when you are alone, there is no fear. There is no judgment. There is no pressure. You are completely free to make mistakes and learn from them. Now let me explain how you can do this in a very simple way. Start by looking at your surroundings and describing them in English. For example, if you are sitting in your room, you can say, I am sitting in my room. This is my bed. This is my table. I have a mobile in my hand. These sentences are very simple, but they are extremely powerful because they connect your real life with English language. You are not memorizing anything. You are describing your real world in English. At first, you will feel slow. You will stop many times. You will search for words in your mind. This is completely normal. Do not try to rush. Do not try to be perfect. Just continue speaking slowly. Even if your sentence is broken, it is still progress, because the goal here is not perfect grammar. The goal is to build a connection between your thoughts and your speech. Now I want to tell you something very important. Most learners are afraid of speaking alone because it feels strange. They think, why should I talk to myself? But let me tell you a truth. Every fluent speaker in the world has done some form of self-practice. They may not call it speaking alone, But their brain has gone through this process because fluency is not built in public speaking first. It is built in private practice. Another powerful method in this stage is daily routine speaking. You can describe your entire day in English. For example, I wake up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I drink tea, I go to work. This may look very simple, but it trains your brain to think in sequence. And speaking is nothing but expressing sequences of thoughts in a clear way. Now let us talk about repetition. In this stage, repetition is your best friend. You should repeat the same sentences again and again. For example, I am learning English. I am learning English. I am learning English. When you repeat, your brain becomes faster, your mouth becomes smoother, and your confidence becomes stronger. Slowly, you stop thinking about grammar rules, and you start speaking naturally. I also want you to understand one very important idea. At this stage, you are not learning new English. You are using Old English in a new way. You already know basic words. You already know simple sentences. Now, your job is to activate them through speaking practice. Knowledge becomes powerful only when it is used. Otherwise, it stays inactive in your mind. Many students feel shy even when they are alone. They whisper, they stop, they hesitate. But I want to tell you clearly, this is the safest place to make mistakes. Nobody is listening. Nobody is judging. This is your training ground. If you cannot speak freely here, then speaking in real life will always feel difficult. So, you must build courage in this private space first. Another important technique in this stage is self-questioning. Ask yourself simple questions in English and try to answer them. For example, what am I doing? What do I want? How do I feel today? Then answer in simple sentences. This creates a natural flow of thinking and speaking together. Slowly, your brain stops translating and starts responding directly in English. Now, I want you to understand the real purpose of this chapter. This is not just about speaking practice. This is about training your brain to think in English while speaking. Because fluency is not about memorized sentences. Fluency is about spontaneous response. And spontaneous response comes only from regular practice. So, in this chapter, remember this clearly. Speak alone every day. Describe your life. Repeat simple sentences. Do not fear mistakes. Do not chase perfection. Just build the habit of speaking without pressure. Because this is the stage where silent knowledge turns into real speaking ability. In the next chapter, I will show you how to make your speaking smooth and natural by improving fluency, speed, and confidence, using very simple daily techniques that connect everything together. Chapter 4. Now in this chapter, I want to take you deeper into the real transformation stage of speaking English. Because in the previous chapter, you learned how to start speaking alone without fear. You learned how to connect your thoughts with your mouth. But now the real question is this. How do you make your speaking smooth, natural, and confident instead of slow, broken, and full of pauses? This is the stage where most learners feel stuck again. They start speaking, but they stop too much. They think too much. They search for words again and again. And because of this, their speaking does not feel natural. Let me tell you something very clearly. Fluency is not about speaking fast. Fluency is about speaking smoothly without stopping too much. Even slow English can be fluent if it flows naturally. Many students misunderstand fluency. They think a fluent speaker is someone who speaks like a machine with speed. But real fluency is when your thoughts move into words without heavy effort. That is the real goal of this chapter. Now, I want you to imagine something. When you were learning your native language as a child, did you think about grammar rules? Did you pause to find correct sentence structure? No. You simply spoke what came to your mind. You repeated what you heard. You copied patterns naturally. And slowly, your speaking became smooth without any effort. This is exactly what we are trying to rebuild in English. In my process, the fourth step is called flow speaking practice. This means you do not speak in isolated words. You speak in connected ideas. You try to build a flow of sentences instead of breaking your thoughts into pieces. For example, instead of saying, "I am going home," you try to say, "I am going home now because I am tired." Even if your sentence is simple, it should feel complete. This is how natural speaking starts. Now let me tell you a very powerful technique. It is called idea expansion. You take one simple sentence and expand it step by step. For example, you start with, "I am eating." Then you expand it to, "I am eating rice." Then you expand it to, "I am eating rice because I am hungry." Then you expand it further to, "I am eating rice because I am very hungry after work." This simple exercise trains your brain to think longer in English without stopping. And this is the secret of fluency. Another important thing in this stage is reducing mental translation. Many learners still think in their native language and then convert into English. This is the main reason for slow speaking. In this chapter, I want you to slowly break this habit. Instead of translating full sentences, start thinking in small English chunks. For example, "I want," "I need," "I am going," "I feel good," "right now," "in the morning." These small chunks become building blocks of fluency. Now let's talk about something very important. Repetition with variation. In the previous chapter, you practiced repetition. But now we take it one level higher. You repeat the same idea in different ways. For example, "I am learning English." Then, "I am learning English every day." Then, "I am learning English to improve my speaking." Then, "I am learning English because I want to speak confidently." This practice makes your brain flexible. It teaches you how to say one idea in multiple ways without fear. Another powerful practice is shadow speaking. This means you listen to a simple English sentence and immediately repeat it out loud. You try to match the rhythm, tone, and pronunciation. At first, it may feel difficult, but slowly your mouth starts adapting to English sounds. This is very important because speaking is not only about words, it is also about sound and rhythm. Clears throat. When your ear and mouth work together, fluency increases automatically. Now, I want to tell you something that many learners ignore. Silence is also part of fluency training. Yes, thinking before speaking is normal, but the goal is to reduce long pauses. In the beginning, you may pause a lot, but with practice, those pauses become shorter and shorter. And one day, you will notice that your speech is flowing without heavy thinking. That is the moment when real fluency starts appearing. In this stage, confidence also plays a very big role. Every time you complete a sentence without stopping, your confidence increases. Every time you express an idea successfully, your brain feels rewarded. And this reward system is very powerful. It pushes you to speak more. It reduces fear. It builds momentum. And momentum is what keeps you going forward. Another key idea is not to correct yourself too much while speaking. Many learners stop in the middle of sentences to fix grammar. This breaks flow. In this stage, you must allow small mistakes because fluency comes first. Accuracy comes later. When you speak without fear, your accuracy will naturally improve over time. So, in this chapter, remember this very important lesson. Do not chase perfection. Chase flow. Chase continuity. Chase comfort in speaking. Because when your speech flows naturally, even simple English sounds powerful. And when you combine flow with daily practice, your speaking will improve faster than you ever expected. In the next chapter, I will show you how to build a complete daily routine that connects reading, thinking, and speaking together so that you can make English a permanent part of your life, not just a subject you study sometimes. Chapter 5. Now, in this final chapter, I want to bring everything together and show you the complete system that can truly change your English speaking journey if you follow it with honesty and consistency. Because understanding separate steps is not enough. Many learners know a lot of techniques, but they never combine them into a daily routine. And without a routine, improvement becomes slow, random, and confusing. So, in this chapter, I will show you how everything connects into one simple process that you can follow every single day. Let me start with a very important truth. English fluency is not built in one big moment. It is built in small daily actions repeated over time. Just like you do not become physically strong in one day, you also do not become fluent in English in one day. It is a gradual process. But the good news is this. If your process is correct, your progress becomes automatic. You do not need motivation every day. You only need discipline and a simple system. Now let us connect everything step by step. In the first stage, you build courage by speaking alone. In the second stage, you build understanding through reading and listening. In the third stage, you build fluency through flow speaking and repetition. But now, in this final stage, you bring all of these together into one powerful daily routine that becomes your English lifestyle. First, your day should start with input. This means you should read or listen to simple English for a few minutes every day. It can be a short story, a simple article, or a slow English video. The goal here is not perfection. The goal is exposure. You are reminding your brain that English is part of your daily life. When your brain sees English every day, it becomes familiar. And when something becomes familiar, it becomes easy. Second, during your day, you should practice thinking in English in small moments. This is very simple, but very powerful. When you are walking, eating, or sitting alone, you try to think small sentences in English. For example, I am going outside. I am feeling tired. I want to drink water. These small thoughts slowly change your internal language system. You stop depending on translation and start thinking directly in English chunks. Third, you must continue your alone speaking practice. This is the heart of your speaking development. You describe your day, your actions, your thoughts, and your feelings in English. You do not worry about mistakes. You do not worry about grammar rules. You only focus on expression. Even 5 to 10 minutes of daily speaking practice can slowly transform your confidence. Now, I want to tell you something very important. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Many learners make a big mistake. They study English for hours one day and then stop for many days. This creates gaps in learning, and those gaps slow down progress. But when you practice a little every day, your brain stays connected with English continuously, and continuous exposure creates faster improvement. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you plant a small seed and water it every day. You may not see change immediately, but after some time, it grows into a plant. Now imagine you water it once a week or once a month. It will not grow properly. English learning works exactly the same way. Daily practice is the water your English needs. Now let us talk about mistakes. Many learners stop because they feel they are not improving fast enough. But I want you to understand this very clearly. Improvement in English is often invisible in the beginning. You will not notice changes every day. But after a few weeks, you will suddenly realize that you are understanding more. You are speaking more. You are thinking faster. This is silent progress. Another important part of this routine is patience. You must give yourself time. Do not compare your journey with fluent speakers. They have been practicing for years. Your only comparison should be your past self. If today you can speak one sentence more confidently than yesterday, that is real progress. Now, I want to give you a complete picture of your daily system. In the morning or any free time, you read or listen to simple English. During the day, you think in small English sentences. In the evening or night, you practice speaking alone for a few minutes. This cycle repeats every day. Simple, clear, powerful. If you follow this system regularly, something very interesting will happen. English will stop feeling like a subject. It will start feeling like a natural part of your life. You will not study English anymore. You will use English. And this shift is the real goal of fluency. Another powerful result of this system is confidence. When you repeatedly understand English, think in English, and speak in English, your brain starts believing that you can do it. And this belief is extremely important, because confidence is not something you get before speaking. Confidence is something you build through speaking. So, in this final chapter, I want you to remember this simple message. You do not need complicated methods. You do not need expensive courses. You do not need thousands of grammar rules. You only need a simple daily system repeated with discipline and patience. And if you stay consistent, I promise you, your English speaking ability will change slowly but permanently. You will go from hesitation to confidence, from silence to expression, from confusion to clarity. Now everything depends on you, not on the method, not on motivation, but on your daily action. Start small, stay consistent, trust the process, and let your English grow step by step. So, if you truly want to improve your English speaking, start this routine from today. Do not wait for tomorrow. If this video helped you understand your learning path, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. I will follow this daily routine. I read every comment, and I reply. Let's grow together and make English a natural part of your life.